This is an SM Media production. Hi everyone and welcome to this week's episode of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be here as always, joined as always by Calum McClurkin. Now, we've had 4 days where it's been non-stop, but first thing I want to ask is, how was your Christmas?
Excellent, yeah. How was yours?
It was good. Very, very quiet, but the calm before the storm. We had 4 amazing days racing. I want to ask you as well, how was your week from a pointing perspective?
A bit of a roller coaster, to be honest. Boxing Day started quite well, apart from the King George, and then it went south. The 27th, we missed Chepstow and Limerick, so I wanted to take Altier on, but I couldn't find the one to take him on with, so I just left the 27th alone. The 28th was a utter bloodbath, and the 29th was incredibly good, almost special. So yeah, roller coaster, slightly up in the end of it. So
What was the one horse that they done you yesterday?
It was Edwardstown. I had 5 out of 5, and he was the last leg of all selections. So I had 4 folds and 5 folds into 6 anyway. So it was pretty handsome. You know, the likes of Sharjah winning and Concertista winning. There was bound to be one day for the punters if you stuck at it. So and the last day it proved to be, but almost great, but not quite. But it was still a very good week.
It was excellent 4 days, and we're going to talk about that in the recap. We'll start off in Boxing Day at Kempton, where we saw the Cottle Star Novices Chase. Shan Blue beat my horse, the Big Breakaway, in the Cottle Star. The jumping won this race. Shan Blue jumped far better than the Big Breakaway did. I still think the Big Breakaway's, I'll still take a lot from that. He didn't jump well at all, but his travelling still suggests to me that he's going to improve. Like, what did you take away for this race? I thought Shan Blue was very impressive.
Yeah, I thought it was a better contest than expected. I did back Shan Blue, fortunately. It was one of the early ones that I really got right. His jumping is a massive asset, and it's huge around Kempton. You know, we saw so many great front running rides down there, and Shan Blue just jumped the Big Breakaway into submission. He did rather well, the runner up, to be as close as he was, given he practically hit every single fence. I can see the appeal of him at Cheltenham because it's a far more suitable track.
Yeah, I think he's jumping will come on. As somebody mentioned before, the last 3 winners of the RSA have jumped poor beforehand. A couple of them have fell. We saw the top of the game. Champ fell. Obviously, a big challenge to beat Monkfish, who we'll touch on later on. But I'm not overly bothered about the Big Breakaway not winning. I thought it was a decent run apart from the jumping, but Shan Blue was very impressive. The Skeltons are in great form. We'll move on to the Christmas hurdle, where Epitaunt was back, and we thought it was going to be a schooling session. Silver Streak made it a different story. Silver Streak led for the front, won well, 12-1 now for the champion hurdle. Epitaunt out to 5-2, but now she's kind of moved her back into 7-4. We're hearing talk that Epitaunt could possibly have been in season, but what an achievement for Silver Streak, and I thought Adam Wedge deserves a lot of credit for how he rode Silver Streak.
Yeah, he does. It was the best ride of the week because it caught everyone by surprise. You know, coming out from the front like that, it's not something that Silver Streak really does. You think this is quite a good horse, but rather exposed. We know everything about him. But obviously, we don't, because he can do that from the front in a really smart time. It caught Epitaunt out, and when he went again, just before 3 out, Epitaunt made a mistake.
Yeah.
And she wasn't really overly hassled too much to try and get back into it. It was kind of done and dusted there. And I did mention before that the hole in Epitaunt for me was always what would be our answer if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You didn't get a nice trip in the Mares Novices hurdle. Every race that she has won has looked very effortless.
Yeah.
And now that the challenge has been presented to her twice, she hasn't really had the answers. The in-season thing could be a valid excuse, and I think the market seems to believe that as well. Maybe Nicky Henderson's top notchers aren't quite firing in all cylinders as well. It's reasonable to forgive her, but it certainly brings a lot of other horses into the equation now.
Yeah. Let's move on to the King George, the big race on Saturday at Kempton, where Bryony Frost, basically another terrific ride, led from the front with Frodon and managed to beat all the other horses into submission. 12-1 now for the Gold Cup. Waiting patiently with second, Clandazobo third, St Calvados fourth. But we'll start off with the horses that I felt were disappointing. We'll start off with Santini, Suriname and Lost in Translation. They were very disappointing.
Yeah, this race was a hard watch if you were a Suriname backer, because when you see him being held up at the rear, you just shake your head in disbelief, thinking, "What on earth are you doing?"
Yeah,
this is a horse that likes to go bowl along. I thought he'd just sit in, track Frodon, be prominent. It's a track that should play to your strengths that way, and you kind of knew your fate very early on. I think Lost in Translation bled from the nose again.
Yeah,
they need to the bottom of that problem. I was just amazed that Frodon is allowed to just do his own thing up front.
It was crazy the lead he got, and I've said this before. I mean, Bryony Frost and Frodon are a match made in heaven. We've said that before, but Frodon shouldn't be given a lead like that, especially with like Santini. I want to touch on as well. Santini, I just feel Santini's overrated to me. I've never ever understood the hype with Santini.
But it was a totally unsuitable race for him.
Yeah.
For such a massive horse like that, would you rule him out entirely for a Gold Cup?
No, you wouldn't rule him. Nah.
Should bring him on a little bit more, but it's just another unsuitable race. And he actually did okay in the first mile, I thought. And then when Bryony Frost kind of cranked up the stop-start pressure from the lead, he just couldn't quite handle it. And again, from a Suriname perspective, Harry Cobden switched. Instead of tracking Frodon, he started to track Santini halfway through.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely puzzling to me. But Nicholson formed the race and tactically controlled it with Frodon from the front. And maybe punters like myself could have anticipated that a bit better. But I just thought, I mean, we saw it last year in the Ryanair, in the Cotswold Chase last year. When he's in a rhythm from the front, uncontested, he's very hard to beat.
Yeah.
But when Min hassled him in the Ryanair, when Native River hassled him in the Many Clouds, there's no answer. So you take that out of the equation fairly early on as well.
Yeah, I just want to touch on as well, Waiting Patiently ran a great race in second, Clandazobo as well third. St Calvados we touched on last week about maybe an each way alternative. He's now into 12-1 for the Ryanair. I think he could be a big player in that race. He ran very well.
He could. He travelled really well to the turn. He just didn't quite see it out after jumping the last. Harry Whittington's horses have been under a rather large cloud for the start of the season. He's missed quite a few engagements.
Yeah,
it was an encouraging run. And given how close he was in the Ryanair last year, you can see his appeal. Might not see him again until that day though.
Yeah,
and you'd like to see the stable a wee bit overcoming that kind of rusty patch that they're coming before backing them for March.
Yeah, let's put our cards on the table. Do you give Frodon a chance in the Gold Cup?
I didn't give him a chance in the King George, but I would give him a chance in any race whatsoever if he's allowed that kind of lead. I don't think he'll make the same mistake again. So no.
Right, we'll move on to Limerick as well. We were at the big Faugheen Novices Chase. We were thinking the steering for Launge obviously fell. Cole Reevy stood up and won very well. Beat Pencil Full of Lead by half a length. It was a very impressive performance. I think I would take both horses out of that and point them towards the festival. Cole Reevy's into 6-1 for the Mayor's Chase. How impressed were you with Cole Reevy?
It was a good effort because she made a big mistake.
Yeah.
Was finish as well. She overcame it, rallied, had just maybe a wee bit more speed than Pencil Full of Lead over that intermediate trip. I think she'll probably need similar deep ground to be effective at the festival. And is she slightly better right-handed? I'm not sure.
Possibly.
Pencil Full of Lead would probably be the one that I would take out of it the most, given Gordon Elliott's horses were not
No.
in top form at all week. It was a trip that was a bit too short. He rallied quite well, I thought, just beaten by half a length. He's a potential long shot for the RSA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a steering for Longe. Yeah, obviously, it's a Cheltenham show, and we saw last year a steering for Longe is probably not suited to Cheltenham. But were you kind of thinking that this horse was maybe travelling well up until he fell?
He was, and he was jumping well as well. It was a strange one, just missed one and fell. It was a mistake out of the blue, and it can't happen to horses.
Yeah, we'll move on to Leopardstown. A couple to mention on Saturday with Zana here, now into 5-2, rock solid favourite for the Triumph Hurdle. Very, very impressive horse, isn't he? He's just he does everything right for me.
Yeah, it's asked a different question of him as well, and he answered it ridiculously slow this time instead of really fast the last time. He had answers to both of them. Showed his versatility quite well. He's without doubt the leading juvenile now.
Yeah,
he looks like he's going to be hard to beat unless we don't see anything, step up or a newbie come through quite rapidly now, I would think.
Yeah, I think 5-2 is a fair price. I think, as you say, it was a slow run race, something he's not had before, and just he answered every question that was asked of him, but very impressive performance. We'll move on to the Grade 1, the Racing Post Novices Chase over 2 miles, where Franco Deport for Brian Cooper got the win, beats Darver Star and Felix Deji. I thought Franco Deport was good. Brian Cooper is, in my mind, one of the most underrated jockeys in the business. That's his 26 Grade 1, is that right?
Yeah, he's got a lot. Yeah.
Easy, isn't it? But we'll touch on the race quickly. We back Felix Deji, who I just don't think is going to do anything at Cheltenham anymore. I kind of gave up on him after this. But Franco Deport was impressive. Do you think Black Bull would have won if he stood up?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It all rather fell apart. Franco Deport was ridden to get the pieces from the back, and did so comfortably. I don't know what would be in the mind of Felix Deji backers when he goes 7 lengths clear, then jumps a fence and goes 2 lengths behind.
Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it?
It was absolutely perplexing. It was even, you're kind of thinking, oh, they're just going to pull him up here. It must be. But he started to kind of rally again, and then it went into third. And I mean, it was a bizarre performance. It was more akin to his hurdling days, I think, where really puzzling horse to figure out.
Yeah. Well, Franco Deport's into about 14-1 for the Arkle. So do we give him a chance to go to the Arkle? Go for the Arkle?
No, not for me. No, it's a race that's totally fell apart, and Shishkin has very little to worry about at this stage.
Yeah, totally agree. We'll move on to Sunday at Kempton, where we saw the return of Shishkin for the Wayward Lad Novices Chase. Different class, very impressive. There was a wee point in the race, and I'll tell you a wee story of how I managed to get the missus to sit down and watch this, because we both backed Shishkin. I've told her to back Shishkin for the Supreme, so we kind of followed Shishkin after. Well, she kind of followed Shishkin after that, so I managed to get her to sit down and watch it. And there's a wee point in the race where my missus doesn't watch horse racing; she doesn't watch it and enjoy it in the slightest. But she was, even a wee point in the race, she was saying, he isn't going very well. He was not getting niggled a wee bit, and I didn't even notice it until I kind of watched it back. But see, I think it was the 5th last where he jumped. From there on in, that's a sign of a superstar. He's now 8-11 for the Arkle. I think he's absolutely rock solid. He's jumping for that fence was lovely. Just everything about him just screams to me superstar.
Yeah, it was very Altior-like, and he's doing all his best work at the finish.
Does that suggest a set up and trip?
He could, because he won a novice hurdle over 2 mile 2 and extended 2 mile 2. So he could step up and trip at some point down the line. I still think that he's got plenty of scope and speed to dominate this division.
Yeah.
And Wayne Voyallen, the likes of Monkfish, same age, are you going to be overly keen in bumping into them if you do want to step up and trip potentially? Maybe not. I think when the turbo kicks in, he's going to be very good. you can just envisage him eating up that Cheltenham hill at some point yet again.
Yeah, he's jumping. It's just as the first thing I thought was that Sprinter Saka style jumping.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 out, 4 out, 3 out, just everything was perfect. Do you think though that he's 8 to 11? Do we think that's obviously you've got the double Wenvoy Lane, which is now I ask you every week what's the value in that now because it can't be high.
Yeah, 3 to 1 now, I think.
3 to 1, so it's in my mind it's rock solid. But do we think though that potentially he's 8 to 11 because he's not got a lot to beat in that race, or do we think he's 8 to 11 because of how impressive a jumper he is?
He's 8 to 11 because he's improved for fences.
Yeah,
from his Sutherland, already a high standard, and there's not much opposition at the moment against him either in the 2 mile division.
Yeah, definitely.
A bit of a combination of both, I think.
I think that as well. But we'll move on to the Desert Orchid, where we thought we were going to see the return of Altior. We saw the return. Nube Negra upset the apple cart with a great ride for Harry Skelton. It was a Christmas period, a really good ride from really exciting jockeys, and Harry Skelton on here was very, very impressive. It's difficult because I don't want to dismiss Altior fully, but it's not the same Altior that I think we saw 2 years ago, and me and you kind of touched on it when we were after kind of every race we were kind of texting each other about it, and I just said out that it's not the same Altior. But Nube Negra, we'll start off with him. How impressive was he to get a win on the board like
that? Very good. Bit surprising. 10-month absence that he defied to really travel all over them and win a group 1, a grade 1. So it was a bit of a surprise to me. You could call him the winner 3 fences out probably. It was a bit of a cruise. You'd normally see a horse like that, Dan Skelton's, be just in flat on flat tracks all the time. You'd probably think something like Aintree or Ayr would be more suitable than a Cheltenham. But after a performance like that, you certainly have to go the champion chase route now.
Yeah, he's into 10 to 1 for the champion chase. We'll touch on Altior as well. What did you kind of think? Because obviously I texted you and said I don't think this is the same Altior. I think it's maybe time to call it a day. But what did you kind of think?
He was under pressure from the off. I thought he does need a step up and trip, but around Kempton he certainly would. But he's just getting a little bit older, and the way he races, he's not going to be a smooth 2 miler from the front that can like an Undersow, a special Tiara that's like can go on to 10, 11, even older horses like that, like likes us, Simply Duke of Navan, horses like that. His style of racing does not suit him going up in age either. Even in his days of when he was undisputed 2 mile king, he got out of trouble using his engine quite a lot. There's a lot of stages and races where he hits flat spots and his engine gets him out of trouble quite often. That's not there anymore as he's got older. I think he did run on towards the end.
Yeah, he did.
But can he make up the ground that he used to? The answer to me was no. But Nicky Henderson has to give it an excuse. I think he had his scope was a wee bit dirty. I think there's a lot of mucus there, so potentially that's another excuse for him. And maybe the one race in mind for him is the champion chase, and his whole season.
Do you think we'll see him before the champion chase if he goes there?
I think they do. I think they want to find out a bit more about him. Spirit in Newbury.
But we'll move on to. No, you go. Sorry.
If he was a 6 or 7 year old, he would be saying he should be running over 2.5 miles.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. But again, we need to realise the fact that he's now 11. He's been there and done it. There's a new crop coming through, but we hope to see him again, and we hope. I think 12 to 1 if it's the Altior, if they can get him back to the Altior, and maybe even 2 years ago, 12 to 1's a massive price. But we'll move on to Leopardstown, where we saw French Seal was very impressive in the juvenile hurdle there. Strong traveller into 12 to 1 to joint second favourite for the Triumph. I thought he was very, very impressive.
Very good. 22 lengths win of a maiden hurdle was quite significant. It was a big gamble on him as well. He punted in from nowhere to 72 favourite, and he kind of laughed at them really.
Yeah, your horse Flying Scotsman was in this race as well. Do you want to change it to the Fred Winter? Because I think he could be a big player in that race.
He could be, but he just doesn't jump well, does he? He always opens up highly fancied and then he just drifts straight away. So is it a GP McManus handicap plot thing?
Possibly.
Potentially. Given what he's done in the flat, it's disappointing he hasn't quite transferred over to hurdles yet, but there's always time for juveniles. He's got a mark, isn't he? He's had 3 runs, so we'll see what he gets. And
it's going to be interesting. But French Seal's a horse I'll take it. I'll say it could be very, very interesting to catch Zana here. We'll move on to Chaka and Persois in the 2 mile chase. I mean, when we talk about impressive performances, I think this was probably the one of the week, apart from we'll touch on the next one after this. But his jump, I think he's just the best jumper in training. He's just excellent. See 5 out, 4 out, 3 out. See just his sequence there was just very, very impressive.
Very good. Yeah, put a wee notebook and put the kettle on quite easily. 2 very smart Henry de Bromhead horses that would have been in form for this kind of race. His jumping just gets better and better and it goes on. And I was quite encouraged with what I saw at Cork and his reappearance. I know some people thought it was a bit flat and it wasn't as flashy as you'd expect. But I mean, this is what he was like when he beat Min, wasn't it? It was kind of back to this level, a level that I don't think many people can match. So many horses can match even. But
74 for the champion chase. Do we think that's his value?
I think it's a fair price. I think you've got to remember his injury history, though, whether he's going to get there or not. I think
my 2 concerns would be: is he going to make the race, as you say, fitness-wise? And we've never seen him at Cheltenham, but I think good horses can turn up anywhere and perform. And I think if he jumps the way he does, then it's a very, very good price. We'll touch and put the kettle on quickly. Obviously, the winner of last year's Arkle didn't really travel well at all. Obviously, has won at Cheltenham 3 times. Could potential a step up and trip and maybe a mare's chase be interesting for him? Sorry.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be the more suitable race. She'll be better at Cheltenham than at Leopardstown, that's for sure. She's been in her travels as well. I expect her to improve in the spring wherever she goes. It's certainly if we're going to get beat by 8-9 lengths off the favourite that you're going to bump into in March probably for that race, you'd be inclined to go for the easier option, the mare's chase. Whether they do that or not, only they can decide, but it's certainly worth thinking about. And mare's chase is certainly more likely than it was this time last week. Yeah,
we've got a new supreme favourite, and it's Appreciate It at 5-2. Won the Future Champions Novice Hurdle. When we talk about horses that can do anything, I think this horse could be up there. 5-2 for the Supreme. A Willie Mullins old-fashioned short price favourite after Christmas, just what we're used to. And I think this horse kind of ticks that box. Bala Adam was very disappointing, and my horse Ngolo, I think that obviously confirms now that he pulled up. He needs a step up and trip, but Appreciate It. How good is he?
He's very good. I mean, he's got this kind of versatility that you dream of for a novice, so he can stay a bit further, but he still has gears. Saw it in the Supreme, saw it in the Champion Bumper where he just get caught. I just wonder if that could happen again for him at the Supreme. I just wonder if something with more pace can come and catch him. But if it's a very soft, maybe heavy ground opener, he could easily do a Classical Dream and dominate from the front and win like that. So, with Fernie Hollow out for the Mullins team, you can see why they're going down the 2 mile route.
Do you think they are going to think that they will go for the Supreme?
Yeah, I think it's 85% certain.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah.
I think there'll be another race. That they'll take in at 2 miles beforehand, probably the Dublin Racing Festival.
Yeah.
Unless he gets looks outpaced there, gets beat there, then they might change their mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's looking a bit of a weaker race at the moment in the Ballamore as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see the logic in the Supreme. In my
Definitely.
mind, he's a Ballamore, so I think it's more of a stare.
Yeah, I think he's more of a stare as well. But we'll touch on Ballyadam. We were obviously he was a favourite before the race started. Were you just disappointed with him? Because I thought he didn't show me anything.
Nah, he was never fluent early on. I think
Nah.
he made a bit of a mistake with third and the fourth. Mistakes like that kind of tend to pile up on you. But a lot of Gordon Elliott's horses didn't finish out the race well at all this week. He was the same. So there might be an excuse for him down that line. I thought he was a tentative Supreme favourite anyway before this.
Yeah.
Wasn't overly surprised at what happened to him. I think he'd appreciate better ground as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on to Monday in Leopardstown. Gallard de Mesnil won a very impressive novice hurdle. Very good jump on Strong Traveller. 25-1 for the Albert Barla. I think that could be quite high.
Yeah, he showed enough as well that he could be a Ballamore horse.
If
Mullins appreciate it for the Supreme, then this horse could be one of his deputies for the Ballamore. It was a good performance. He stepped up from his debut, when he was thrashed by Holy Macapone. So that gives that form line a bit of hope for me. If they find out what happened to him at Navan last time.
Yeah, I think he's potentially Holy Macapone. We could see him again shortly. But I was very impressed with Gallard de Mesnil. We'll move on to the Christmas hurdle, the 3 mile hurdle. Florin Porter won it very, very well. I thought 6-7 lengths clear. Huge progression in him, considering where he was last year. I think he was running off like 104 last year. He's now won a Grade 1, beating a 2-time festival winner. Sire de Perle, I thought was okay. Finished third. Well, obviously Cheltenham will get the best out of him. Fury Road, I thought, was just a little bit outpaced, but again, hopefully he kind of progresses from that. But Florin Porter, how impressed were you with him?
It was a great performance. Caught everyone cold from the front again, but Silver Streak-esque, but over 3 miles and over an island. He gets into a lovely rhythm when he's out in front. We saw that when he beat the Boss's Oscar Handicap Company by 12 lengths last time out. That form has been well advertised too. Gavin Cromwell has got a brilliant knack of taking these rather moderate horses and somehow getting them to graded standard. The progression of Davor Star last year is similar, from 114 up to mid 160s. This horse will now get a rating in the early 160s, and that entitles him to be a player on the Stayers hurdle. Yeah,
what did you think of Sire de Perle and Fury Road?
Neither of them like Leopardstown. I think it was the main takeaway. They both had sticky form coming into it. I take more encouragement slightly from Fury Road than Sire de Perle, even though Fury Road finished well behind. I think with Sire de Perle having a run at that level in a race of that nature under his belt behind, I thought he'd return to bumpy travel and spitting the dummy out when it kind of came matters. He didn't. He also hampered Fury Road around the bend and giving Elliott's horses the yard the really quiet spell.
Yeah,
Jack, he was injured beforehand. He missed the day out. It just was one of those days that just nothing went right. So maybe they do have excuses, but Paisley Park and Time Hill, I think, will be fairly happy about what they saw.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on to the Savills Chase. There's a lot to get through with this race. Atotard stepped up well, kept on strongly and won the Savills Chase, beating Kenboy by just over half a length. Mellon was very, very impressive in third. I think he's a great chance in the Ryanair. Allaho fourth as well. We'll touch on the first four and then we'll kind of touch on the horses after that. But while Atotard is now into 16th one for the Gold Cup, do you give him a shout?
Yeah, he's got his chance. He's got unbelievable versatility now. He's won a Grade 1 over 2 miles there. He's run quite well in a Ryanair. He's won a novice handicap at the intermediate trip. Now he's won at 3 miles here at Leopardstown. Stamina would still worry me a bit for a Gold Cup, and maybe a bit too short now, but another year of development is worked absolute wonders for him. It was a brilliant ride for young Darrell O'Keefe to get
Yeah,
his
it was. Yeah.
one winner.
What about Ken Boy in second? Do you think he's back to some sort of form?
He's certainly improved for his reappearance run.
Yeah.
He jumped a lot. I'd expect him to come back and have a look at the Irish Gold Cup.
Yeah, I think that as well.
Cheltenham, he's entitled to go there now after that, but the track is previous there.
Yeah, he's never gone well. Yeah. Mellon in third, again, maybe just didn't stay, but when it comes to Ryanair, this horse is a very, very good chance.
He jumped as well as any of them here.
Yeah.
Front, Patrick Mullins kind of had to take him to the front a bit too soon because he just jumped up there. Some of his jumps to the back straight were frighteningly good at that level. He got in way too close to 2 out, which probably lost him the race, in my opinion. He had a 4-5 length lead at that point. It quickly reduced into 1 or 2. He is up for a scrap as well.
Yeah.
He might be another that will take in the Irish Gold Cup as well. And if he does run well there, that would be 2 very hard races in a row, you'd imagine, and might soften him up for Cheltenham a little bit.
Yeah, we'll touch on Allaho quickly in fourth. I love Allaho, but I just didn't get home. I think I said at the start, we heard about, obviously we didn't see he's running the John Durkin because of the fog, but he made 2 big mistakes in that race, and I think he just didn't get home here, but I wouldn't rule him out completely if he goes the Ryanair route.
Yeah, down the inside, the pick at Paul Town end as well.
Yeah.
And the money certainly did come from him as well. He didn't get home. He was very fluent. He started to make a wee bit of ground coming round at the bend, and then he just came home in his own time, which was good enough for fourth. You'd like to see him bowling along in a Ryanair, but Min will be up there, Imperial will be up there. There'll be plenty of pace on. I just wonder with him, he might need another year's experience under his belt before we really see what a lot of people think is a lot of potential there in that horse.
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch on a few of the horses who were very, very disappointing. Sam Crow, Fakir Duderee, Presenting Percy. Where are we with these 3 now after that? Because they were absolutely very, very poor.
Presenting Percy disappointed big time, I thought. I mean, but again, is that Elliott form the yard? Is that an excuse? He was beaten a long, long way in a race that really ought to have ran to suit him.
Yeah.
He get into it from the back off a strong pace. Fakir Duderee, he made a big mistake 3 out when he was trying to make some ground with Tornado Fly that finished him off. A lot of Joseph's horses that are trying to come back on the recovery trail are just are finding it really hard at the moment. Richburg's another one. They just seem unable to get these horses back to the old levels that they were when they were novices and juveniles, etc. So yeah, he's a lot to answer for now, I would think. Sam Crow,
he's done. Is overrated.
Yeah, but his Cheltenham record.
His Cheltenham record, yeah. That's it.
This was my concern with A Plutard as well. It's not an easy race to step up to 3 miles for the first time in your life. So, and the Elliott form, particularly the Gigginstown horses, were rather over the week. So maybe he can be forgiven more, but yeah, you need a big leap of faith to stay with him in the future. Yeah,
with a couple of follows in this race, you obviously dealt with what was an interesting one for you. You tipped him up last week, but Manel Ando as well. I fancied Manel Ando to win this race, and they both Manel Ando fell quite early on, and then Delta Work unseated. Who was on Delta Work?
Sean Flanagan.
Sean Flanagan. I think Delta Work only got a chance when Jack Kennedy's on board. I think they've got a similar relationship to the likes of, as we say, Frodon and Bryony Frost. I think they click together. But what did you kind of think of Manel Ando and Delta Work? Do you rule them out of Cheltenham, or do you still give them a chance?
No, I keep the faith with them.
Yeah.
What horses can they can fall if they're going to restore confidence. I think you'd probably see both of them now in the Irish Gold Cup as well.
Yeah.
I thought Menelindo, he's got a bad habit of making mistakes at the worst possible time now.
Yeah.
The mistake kind of came out of nowhere, came out of the blue. He did it in RSA at the last, where he just got in ridiculously tight, gives everyone a chance. Those two errors aside, I don't really think I've ever seen him jump a fence badly apart from those two.
Aye.
Delta Work's a bit of an enigma, isn't he?
Yeah.
He normally acts quite well around Leopardstown, but he was slightly hampered at the 8th, and he made a mistake at the 9th. It wasn't a bad mistake, but he's just landing unseated the rider. He just got underneath him a little bit, and that's it. Game over. But he'll have another chance at the Irish Gold Cup.
Yeah.
The bookies are largely unmoved by it, and maybe with the form of the early yard, perhaps an early fall was
It's a good thing, yeah.
in disguise for Delta Work. I mean, I think the news as well of not having Jack Kennedy on board is a blow for this horse.
Yeah.
I'm not one to kind of look at jockeys too much, the relationships, but the relationships with certain horses do make the world of difference in a sport full of fine margins sometimes. So
yeah,
he's unlucky in that he's not really getting his regular rider that often these days, it seems.
Definitely. We'll move on to the Big Getaway, who jumped a lot better than his Novices Chase. Beginners Chase finally got a win on the board. 16-1 for the RSA. Do we think the Big Getaway's back to what we thought it would be?
Yeah, it was a lot more encouraging. His debut made 2 really false steps, and I just wonder if that kind of knocked the confidence out of him and the stuffing out of him a little bit in his debut. And Willie Mullins has campaigned him more like a seasoned chaser of, big, strong, maybe leave a bit more work on him than he normally do with most of his novices, just because he shapes like he's not really a novice. He looks like the finished article already, given his massive frame. He might have enough speed for a marsh to dominate from the front if it's soft. Could potentially take on Envoy Allen that way if he wanted to. I don't think Willie Mullins might not be keen to run him in the same 3-mile race as Monkfish.
Yeah,
I do give him a race. I
could
really
potentially National Hunt Chase be an option for him?
He could be, but he'll need to run over 3 miles to qualify for it.
Yeah,
I think they could do, but he did finish quite tired in his seasonal debut, and he does have a big enough engine. He was third in a Ballymore from the front.
Yeah.
Yes, he's not entirely short of gears, so don't think he's a complete National Hunt horse quite yet, but he does have a lot of options to him.
Yeah, definitely. Be interesting as well. Tuesday, we've got a few to mention. We'll start off in Doncaster. A horse that I like, Annie Mac, won the Mayor's Chase there. 12-1 now for the Mayor's Chase at the festival. Won very easy, but is this potentially a dark horse for the new race?
Potentially, if it's as heavy and muddy as it was there, and all our best form tends to be right-handed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can see the angle of if you don't like these novices that are going into this Mayor's Chase route, you want an experienced, fairly solid horse. She's only 6, but she's been around quite a fair bit now. You can make an each-way case for her at the moment, yeah. Yeah,
definitely. Newbury with the Shallow Hurdle, where Brave Man's Game stepped up his claim to be one of the leading British novices. 6-1 now for the Ballymore, kind of favourite. I thought he was very, very impressive. It was a good race. He likes a Stargate and the Glancing Queen. They're not bad horses. It was a very, very good performance from him.
Brilliant performance. Comparisons of Denman were already made by beforehand. The last time Paul Nicholls won this race was 15 years ago with Denman. You can see the similarities. You get a bit more pace than Denman.
Yeah.
He will be a chaser in time, for sure. Probably quite a good steer as well. No, it was quite impressive. He's a Ballymore favourite.
Yeah.
Denman went that route. Denman ran in the Ballymore. got beaten in it, 11-10. But brave man's game. He was too good not to go down that route. So I know Paul Nicholls likes to have his novices going along softly, and only if they're really top notch they go to the festival. He has a chance. It's an obvious chance now, and particularly if Appreciate It does go supremely. Yeah, I think he's rightfully favourite. Probably the best British novice hurler around at the moment.
No, definitely, yeah. I'll do that. Definitely. Leopardstown, we've got a few to mention. Statler was very, very good. Kept on pretty well. Was about kind of 20-1, 25-1 for the Ballymore and the Bartlett. What do you kind of think with him? Were you impressed?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought he's got a chance in a wide open Albert Bartlett at the moment. I would definitely go there with him. I've been
I think I would as well. Yeah.
Follow the better.
We'll move on to Concertista. Fantastic performance from her. I think 4-1 Mares Hurdle. I think she's very, very close with Honeysuckle now in terms of form. Do you think she's a potential superstar?
Yeah, she's improving like that. She's just getting better and better all the time. Paul Townend gave her a great ride. So it was really well from well off a strong pace, but they were trying to search out her stamina. Think if there's any chinks there, they could beat her that way with Manila Melody up front. Didn't work. She has it all. She answered that question. She's answered that question over 2 miles as well. She settle and win off the back off a solo run 2 mile 4 as well. I mean, there's a lot. She's a very, very hard horse to beat. She looks a bit of a machine, to be honest.
Yeah, she does. I love her. I think she's absolutely amazing. And now it looks. Do we think this is a leading horse for the Mares Hurdle? Do we think we could potentially see Benny Deju going elsewhere now?
Possibly. I do think Concertista will go Mares Hurdle, and Willie Mullins did suggest quite strongly that Mares Hurdle would be the route to take her. I think she's good enough to compete in a champion hurdle.
Yeah, I do too.
I think Honeysuckle is good enough to compete in a champion hurdle as well. So
yeah,
we had the clash of Benny Dedu and Honeysuckle last year. It might be the clash of Concertista and Honeysuckle this year. Benny Dedu might turn up here, and different owners. Benny Dedu and Concertista.
Yeah,
it's not completely out the realms of possibility that all three of them would be here, which would be quite the race, would you imagine?
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on to Monkfish and the Neville's Hotels Novices Chase over 3 miles. It was a great race between him and Latest Exhibition, which I think woke up Monkfish in the second half of the race. It was a good performance. 9-4 now for the RSA. What was your thinking of this race?
Monkfish was good. The further went on, the better. Full credit to Latest Exhibition for sticking in there and making him pull out a little bit more. He was always holding him though, and if there was another question going to be asked of Monkfish, then I think he would have answered it as well. He looks a brilliant 3 mile chaser. Yeah,
9-4 for the RSA, good value.
It's fair enough. You can't argue with the price. I mean, you wouldn't dive in 3 months before a festival.
Yeah.
On most things at 9-4, but there's question marks about the opposition and behind the fact that Latest Exhibition is a clear second favourite in that market. I mean, he's going to hold him all day by the looks of it. To me, you need to look fairly deep, I think, to find the credible rival against him at the moment.
Definitely. Last race to mention now. If there's a reason why people should tune in and listen to our tips to hear Calum give good opinions, then I think this is it. Sharjah won the Matheson Hurdle very, very impressively. You were screaming about this horse last week.
It was probably the most passionate I've ever got in the show. I mean, not really about Sharjah, but about the market as a whole, because it was priced up on potential horses to beat Epatton and Abacadabra and St. Ra, rather than the proven form and around the track and Sharjah, and even Aspire Tower as well would probably merit a positive mention. But
definitely,
yeah, it was wrong at the time, and people cottoned on. 9-1 pre-Christmas, went off 11-2. he didn't even really get his ideal ground either, but he still won. It's a brilliant ride from Patrick Mullins right out of the back, running cold. Came there swinging round the turn, and he did look to be the only winner at one point.
Yeah, definitely. Aspire Tower deserves a good mention as well. Finished a decent second. He's about 12-1 for the champion hurdle. Let's get to the two market leaders though, San Ra and Abacadabras. Abacadabras, I think you can put it down to the form of the yard, but San Ra I just thought wasn't his. Again, I think the hype train just has got this horse, and I don't think he's going to live up to what we thought he was after he was very impressed with the county hurdle, but after that he just hasn't shown up really.
Yeah, he just lacks the experience of tactical Grade 1 races in this
nature.
Aye. And again, if you're backing him, you would think he's challenging Aspire Tower again too soon. He dragged Charger into the race perfectly, who then tackled Aspire Tower to win. So if it was role reversal of Charger towing in St. Wa, it could possibly change things. I think a bigger field would, if a lot of mid 150s horses turn up in the champion hurdle and it's run like last year, which was a bit like a county hurdle, it might really suit them. It would suit a lot of horses like coming from the back. It would obviously suit Sharjah as well. It would suit Abacadabra as well. You could hang them all at the back and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because that's will go off in front. Petit Mouchoir ran okay. He'd probably be a bit more forward as well if he goes there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very interesting race. Sharjah, 3-time winner of that race. I just want to ask. I think I'm going to give you. I just want to ask who was the best jockey to watch? It was Paul Townend for me. Paul Townend had an absolutely unbelievable 4 days, and how impressive was he? Do you think?
Yeah, I think they had 16 winners over the week.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Billy Mullins' team. Paul Townend is riding in really, really great form. I think winning the Gold Cup in Album Photo in the first season that Ruby Walsh retired really did give him the confidence and the platform to say, I will be #1 jockey of this all-conquering yard, and I'll not let you down. He was a very good operator anyway.
Yeah.
Second string to Walsh most of the time, but in Irish racing, in racing anyway, sometimes it doesn't matter if it's your first, second, third, or fourth string. But when he's on something, I mean, you've got to look at it. I mean, his ride as well, and not even Mullins' horse. I mean, his riding Dandy Mag as well.
It was unbelievable, yeah.
Berton qualifier to win that was incredibly brave. He's in top form. He can do it from the front. Can hold up. A novice, a seasoned campaigner, brilliant hurdler. They all come alike at the moment, and yeah, I've never seen him ride better.
Yeah, definitely.
At a high level and a more consistent level as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was our really, really long and really, really informative recap for the week. Now we will look at what's coming up. The racing doesn't stop after Christmas, but it just gets busier. But we've got a bit of news today that Cheltenham's going to be called off on New Year's Day. That's very disappointed with that, because we had the Dipper and the Real Keel to look forward to. But New Year's Day, we will see the return of the 2-time Gold Cup hero Album Photo as he looks to go back to Tramore and complete the 3-peat in the Savills Chase. Do you think this is a pretty good race for him? Obviously, Monalee's potentially going to turn up here, but how excited are you to see Album Photo coming back?
Yeah, it's his wee traditional New Year routine now that always seems to work for him. Have a nice wee race here while everyone else goes and slugs it out in a King George or a Savills Chase. Monalee is an interesting rival against him, because I think connections of Monalee, I think they would have had a big chance in the King George. He certainly would have been top 3, I think.
Yeah, I think that as well.
If they were allowed to do so. Kenboy also franked the form quite well in his run after their effort on their reappearance, because I mean, Monalee and Kenboy both needed a reappearance behind presenting Percy the last time out. Kenboy came on for it significantly. Monalee always comes on for its first run significantly. So Yeah, he's certainly good enough to give Album Photo a bit of a race here.
Mm-hmm. And that as well. I'm really excited to see Album Photo. I think this could be. I think there's two horses to take away from in my mind, from the Christmas racing, and they didn't even run. I think Album Photo and Champ could be the two to watch for the Gold Cup now. I think I'm really excited to see Album Photo. But there's a big race as well at Sandown in the second, where we will see the Tolworth Hurdle. It's been won by some amazing horses over the past few years, but we don't know exactly what's going to turn up. But the third time lucky leads the market. Do we think we're going to see him after he ran on Boxing Day? He was quite impressive on Boxing Day as well.
He was good in the opening on Boxing Day. It's a bit of a quick turnaround though. He might, because the Scotland Yard are in very good form, so while they're in form, they'll run them in these races. The one I like is Metier of Harry Fry's.
I like him as well.
He was very good in debut. He really could be anything. I think if he can somehow win this, he'd be a player anywhere, wherever he goes at Cheltenham. Harry Fry's he's done quite well with some 2.5 mile novices before. He was very unlucky with Neon Wolf, I think was his name.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he's had quite a few that have been fairly promising. So maybe this is another. It'd be nice to see it is. It gives another dimension to the novice hurdles if he goes and proves it and franks the form of Tower.
Yeah, definitely. And that is what's coming up this week. We'll move on to our Ante Post Picks, and it was another interesting week. And what's the one horse from your Ante Post portfolio that you're taking positives from for the week over the past weekend?
Not many. I was like probably the double.
Rock solid now, isn't it?
Has to be the chief hope of getting something on board at the moment. I would like to see Calum run one of these Perthol qualifiers sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried they might go Coral Cup with him at the moment.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, the Percent final was that the qualifier in Ireland was very interesting there, and we'll. My Ante Post picks, not a lot of them ran over the weekend, but we'll move on to our Ante Post pick for this week. We've got one each, and I'll start off with Calum. What you got this week?
Fury Road for the Stairs Hurdle at 20-1.
Really?
Bit of a surprise, but I was surprised that money came from at Leopardstown at all, because he does not like it there at all. He get beaten a bumper there. He get beaten his novice hurling days were his favourite there by latest exhibition. But he improved dramatically to going back to Cheltenham, and given the form of the Elliott Yard, given that he didn't have either Davy Russell or Jack Kennedy on board, given that it was at Leopardstown that he just doesn't enjoy. It wasn't a run that was entirely devoid of promise, and what on paper it was been probably his hardest race that he's taken in. There is a reason why Gordon Elliott has kept him over hurdles rather than put him over fences, which seemed to be an obvious move to me. I think if he gets soft ground at Cheltenham again, he'll return to the level form of Albert Bartlett, and that race is just working out far too strongly for him to be a 20-1 chance in a stairs hurdle.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
You take that run out in isolation. Paisley Parks, well, he could, at the prices you've got a chance, and think that he might have won another bad run somewhere this season. And from the Albert Bartlett form, he should be closer to Time Hill than he is in the market. So I don't think Time Hill is entirely bomb-proof either. And it's a race, I think, that could potentially cut up quite significantly, because there's 4 or 5, top-class prospects that will probably see off the rest here. So in a field that could deplete into single figures, or maybe 8 or 9 runners, I think him at 20-1 each way, we know he's going to go there. He's improved last year at Leopardstown to Cheltenham by £10. If he does that again, and he probably ran to his mark at Leopardstown 151, he can run into that 160 bracket, and that would entitle him to have a fair chance at a stiffer track they would enjoy, an undulating track they would enjoy, a stronger pace, and maybe a bit more cut in the ground and seem to better effect. And hopefully with either Davy Russell or Jack Kennedy in bowl could make a world of difference, because he's 6 going 7. He's got a lot of potential, and I think he's got more scope to improve than Sire de Berle as well. So I think 20-1 for him, Steers Hurdle, out from 10-1. I think it's a bit of an overreaction.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I wasn't. I think he was a bit outpaced, but I think he's definitely going to come on for that run. My pick is, it's a sort of knock-on effect of what happened over Christmas. There was a lot of horses that impressed me over Christmas, but I wouldn't say there was one I thought, yeah, I'm going to take. A lot of the horses that impressed me over Christmas have went to really short in the market, which makes the kind of value disappear. But the knock-on effect of a few horses here are going to make me go with this one. I'm going for Benny de Dieu at 11-2 for the Mare's Chase. Now, I'll explain my logic quickly. Benny de Dieu was an electric jumper before she won the Mare's Hurdle a few years ago. She was probably one of the most fascinating horses to watch over fences. Concertista, I think, is the number 1 horse for the Mullins team for the Mare's Hurdle now, which opens it up for Benny de Dieu. I don't think she's quick enough for a champion hurdle. I never ever have thought she's quick enough for a champion hurdle. Stairs, she could potentially go there, but I don't think she will. I think now we've got a race that's suited for mares, a Mare's Chase. We might only see her once. We might not even see her at all before the festival. But if she goes to, if she's confirmed for the Mare's Chase, I think 11-2 is massive. So I'm going to get her in right now. I'm going to put my eggs in the basket and say she's going to go for the Mare's Chase. She's 11-2. She goes for that race. She's not going to be 11-2. She'll be a lot shorter than that, and I think she'll win.
Yeah, possibly. And she definitely has all the class, all the previous form in the boot. I would like to see her have at least one run, even if it's over hurdles.
Yeah.
Before, I'd expect that to happen at some point down the line.
I think we'll see her in the Galmoy Hurdle at Gowran Park, or we maybe even see her over fences between now and then. But the thing I've took away from it is, we've obviously when a few of the Richie has said before that she takes a long time to recover after a run over fences, so that suggests to me we might not even see her over fences until the Mare's Chase. But if she does go for the Mare's Chase, I think she's certainly going to be the best horse in the race. I loved her as a jump. I loved her over as a chaser before she went to the Mare's Hurdle against Apple's Jade, and after that, I think they tried to do the kind of 3 in the row kind of thing like they tried to do with Quavega. So yeah, I'm confident that she's going to go for the Mare's Chase, and if she goes for the Mare's Chase, I think she'll be a lot shorter, and I fancy her to get my portfolio back to some sort of form.
Yeah, no, every chance.
I'm gambling, but I'm gambling with something I think could be a good thing. But that was our very, very long and exciting look at the racing over the Christmas period. But we will be back next Wednesday. We will review all the racing over the new year. Really enjoyed it today, Calum. Thanks very much for joining me as always.
No, thanks again. Have a good 2021 when it
Yeah,
comes
you
out.
as well. Mate, happy New Year when it comes to all our viewers, and we will see you next year. And we are really looking forward to coming back next Wednesday with more Ante Post Picks and a recap of what's happened over the week. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you next week. Cheers.